When you look at what 2025 actually did to Sedona's real estate market and what is stacking up for 2026, a pretty confusing picture shows up.
And so in this video, we're breaking down three things. First, why 2025 created a more selective, split Sedona market.
Second, our prediction for 2026, where demand and pricing pressure could go if the mortgage rates stay roughly in the same range.
And third, the exact playbook buyers and sellers need in 2026 so you don't get burned by the wrong comps.
If you're new here, we're Greg and Cami Goucher with the Live It in Sedona group, and we help people buy and sell homes across Sedona and the Verde Valley area. One of the biggest parts of our jobs is translating what the market is doing into what it means for your specific neighborhood and your specific plan, because Sedona doesn't behave like one big uniform market.
All right, before we talk about our 2026 predictions, you really have to understand what 2025 did to Sedona, because last year was not a crash, but it also wasn't a clean rebound.
It was a market where prices stayed strong overall, but the buyer experience got a lot more selective, and the gap widened between prime homes and everything else.
If you only watched one headline number in 2025, you could easily talk yourself into the wrong plan. For example, Redfin reports that in December 2025, Sedona's average sale price was around $1.4 million, which was up about 13% over the year.
But when you zoom into Sedona, the story looks different depending on the zip code. The 86336 zip code, Redfin reports the average sale price in December was around $1.2 million versus the village of Oak Creek, which is zip code 86351, where the average sale price was closer to $770,000. So the takeaway here is really important. 2025 wasn't one Sedona market. It behaved like multiple micro markets, which is exactly why buyers and sellers were getting completely different signals.
Another big shift was how long homes were taken to sell. The average days on market in December were reported to be 64 and 54 days respectively by Redfin and Zillow. So Sedona wasn't a speed market across the board anymore.
Which was great because buyers finally had time to think, compare homes, and negotiate. And while sellers, they had to work a little harder to win the attention.
Another thing we saw in 2025 was the market rewarding the best homes and pushing back on everything else. Zillow showed a sale to list price ratio of about 96.9% with a large share of homes selling under list price.
Which basically tells you something simple. If a home was priced like it was still the frenzy market from a few years ago, buyers pushed back.
But the right homes in a good location with a good layout were move-in ready, and they still moved.
Now in the inventory side, buyers finally started to feel like they had options again. At the start of 2026, Zillow reported around 224 homes for sale in Sedona itself. So buyers had alternatives, but it still wasn't enough inventory to completely remove seller leverage.
Another big shift in 2025 was buyers underwriting the entire deal, not just the price.
Short-term rental rules matter here. The city of Sedona has placed rules and regulations for short-term rentals, as well as placing the requirement of permits and registering the STR with the city. And of course, mortgage rates. Freddie Mac reported the 30-year fixed average around 6.2% in December of 2025.
So buyers started looking at the whole ownership picture, not just the sticker price.
So that's the setup going into 2026. Prices have stayed strong, but the market has gotten pickier, and the gap between A-plus homes and everything else has gotten wider, which is exactly why our predictions for 2026 might surprise some people. We're heading into the year with mortgage rates a little lower than last year. Pricing in Sedona is still very strong, but buyer behavior is still very selective.
And when those three things happen together, you usually get a split market, where Sedona starts behaving like multiple markets at the same time. And to make a real prediction about 2026, we think you have to ask three simple questions.
Number one, does buyer demand stay active in 2026?
Number two, does inventory rise enough to create a balanced market?
And number three, what happens to the prices?
Demand in 2026 really comes down to mortgage rates and buyer psychology, even in a cash-heavy market like Sedona.
Because financing financing still sets the tone for move-up buyers, second home buyers, and people comparing Sedona to other lifestyle markets. We actually just had this happen with some clients that we worked with. They were moving from an area that doesn't have the same lifestyle or the same price point as Sedona, and the only way they could make the move was to use financing.
Freddie Mac reported the 30-year fixed average at about 6.16% in early January 2026, down from about 6.93% a year earlier. So what we think will happen in 2026 is this. If rates stay in the low 6% range, demand stays present, but picky.
Buyers show up for the best homes, and they hesitate on anything that feels overpriced or compromised.
But if rates dip closer to 6% for stretches, that could wake up competition really fast, especially for homes that feel turnkey and move-in ready.
Inventory is coming onto the market, but it's not flooding the market, which means buyers have more options than they did a few years ago, but still not enough to erase the competition for the best homes.
So what happens to prices? This is where people get confused, because Sedona can look up in one area and down in another at the same time.
So our prediction for 2026 is pretty simple. It's most likely a split market year. A-plus homes in a great location with great layout, priced correctly, those will still have strong demand and will move fast. But B and C homes, those will sit longer, and the wins will come through price reductions or negotiated terms.
And that's what makes this market confusing. Two neighbors can have completely different experiences in the same month.
And that's exactly why buyers and sellers need a different playbook in 2026. Because if you follow the wrong headline, you'll make the wrong move.
If you're a buyer, what does this mean for you? If you're buying in Sedona in 2026, the first thing to understand is this. Stop shopping Sedona like it's one market. Shop your lane.
Sedona can look up in one area and down in another at the same time. And then when you zoom in by zip code, the number changes again, which is why you really have to build your plan to the exact area and to the exact home type. Another thing buyers should expect is speed on the best homes. Even if the headlines make the market sound slower, the best homes still get attention and move quickly. Everything else becomes negotiable.
And finally, buyers need to underwrite ownership costs and rules like they're part of the purchase price. Because in Sedona, they are short-term rental rules, HOA rules, insurance availability. Those all matter here.
If you're planning to sell in 2026, the biggest thing to understand is this. You're not competing with buyers. You're competing with other listings, your neighbors straight down the house. When buyers have alternatives, they compare harder, which means your home has to clearly stand out at its price point.
Price plus condition matters more than ever in a split market. Turnkey homes priced correctly can still create urgency. But if the home is dated or compromised, the strategy should include sharper pricing or meaningful concessions.
And the final things that sellers should watch out for is the mortgage rates, because small mortgage rate moves can wake up demand quickly.
If you're watching this thinking the Sedona market feels confusing, well, you're not wrong. You're definitely not crazy. Sedona isn't one market. It's multiple micro markets layered on top of ownership costs, rules, and lifestyle factors. If you're buying in Sedona or in the Verde Valley in 2026 and want a strategy built around exact neighborhood, budget, and lifestyle goals,
or you're selling and you want to position your home to win in a split market, use the link in the description to schedule a quick call with us. We would love to get to know you and how we can help you in 2026, whether you're buying or selling.
We're Greg and Cami Goucher with the Living in Sedona Group, and we help buyers and sellers across Sedona and the Verde Valley understand what the market is actually doing in their specific neighborhoods and price range.
So you can make the right move with the right clarity. Make it a great day at Living in Sedona, and we'll see you next week.